Well, where did the last minute go? I looked at the clock and I said, it's almost time to start. Then I looked back again. It was already a minute after. So welcome to the program at 9:02, folks. This isn't actually the radio program yet. We're still in the pre-show, making sure we're all set up. And there's my daughter, Rowan, my 10-year-old daughter, Rowan. And I want to get us started here. There, that's going. I got to take our sound down. Testing 1, 2, testing 3, 4. There we go. All right. How is everybody tonight? Let's get the chat room going here. Hey, Barbie D, first name I saw, and David Otness, and Remelian, and who else is in here so far? I think you three are it in the chat room at this early stage. So welcome to the program, guys. And I see there's more people here than are showing up. So we'll see you when you get here. And we got what? About a minute and 15 seconds left before we go live over on the radio station. So, I just made today, we were on the road today running around. My daughters came with me. And we spent about 9 hours in the car. It was amazing to me when I think of the ground we covered today in 9 hours, the places we had to go and get things done and work for clients and so on. 150 years ago, 200 years ago, would have taken a month, and we can do it in one day. I think that's pretty amazing. So what you doing, little girl?
I'm cleaning my shoes so they're white again.
That is a awesome thing to do. I'm all behind you doing it.
Next, I have to do my legs.
Okay, but you know what we got to do right now? We got to go dark because we gotta go with the show. I love you. Stand by, folks. Here we go.
Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to the program. This is me, your host, Scotty Roberts, right here on my show, the Intrepid radio program, here on Odyssey Radio. You can go to odysseyradio.com. That's ODYSY radio.com. See all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. You can hear archives of this show all day tomorrow. And check out all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. You can also see this show tonight in its video simulcast in 4 different places. 3 of them over on Facebook, 1 of them on my YouTube channel. And if you don't know what those are, just look them up. Real easy to find. And once again, this is now my second day or third day broadcasting, if you include Sunday, since recovering from COVID, but still having the after effects. So my voice is still awful, and I don't know how long it will last. I've gone from with this COVID, my daughters who got this COVID, my older daughters, they got back to me and they said, when we got it, that second strain or second blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Words are failing me tonight. When they got COVID, they got it twice. They were vaccinated and boosted and everything, and they got it twice. It followed the same pattern that this one did. Sick for a few days, down for a few days, and then you're up, and then in a few days you feel really good, and then a few days later the coughing starts. And my daughter Bryn said it was relentless, and there were times, now they're not smokers or anything like that, they had no idea what it felt like, I think, to have a relentless coughing spasm. And so I've entered that phase. So folks, if you get this, I'm pumped up on cough syrup right now. Cough syrup is my new drug of choice. And because today, during this time, I was in the car most of the day with the kids, and we're talking about stuff the whole day and listening to things and so on. But the cough that you get from this, the one I have, it's not productive. It doesn't do anything. It's just like an empty, shady, hollow cough of nothing. And it would go on sometimes. I went into, when I say a coughing spasm, I'm driving, 75 miles down the freeway and coughing for 15 minutes. And so this is how, I'm not crying in my soup or telling you a sad, woeful tale of my COVID. I'm just telling you, this is how this one particularly works. And so hopefully within a week or so, this will be gone, and I can get back to normal. And so I need no tweeds today, Rudy Kessler. No tweeds today. It's not a tweed day. So that's got to become code on this show. Are you wearing your tweed and fedora today? Doctor should give me an inhaler. I was thinking you're going to get one of those, Sarah. I had one. Forgive me. And that is about as productive as the cough gets. So this is more an experiment in broadcasting. I'm just letting you see firsthand and relaying to you what I've experienced. So if you get this is the kind of thing that I don't know if this is a different strain. I don't know what it is. Strain this, strain that. Strain schmame. COVID seems to have been COVID. And some people are very susceptible and others are not. On the other hand, Ellery has hiccups. And so she came here to share those with you. And we are in the middle of the live show,
And I have a icy float.
You had your one today. You had one today. Thank you, Rowan. That's what I was going to say. No, bye. See ya. I love you.
Can I have one?
No.
Why?
No. We'll talk about it when I'm off radio. Okay. Oh. Are you on the floor? Centurion, throw her to the floor. Again, name that movie if you know the line. Centurion, throw her to the floor. And there she lay on the floor. Scintillating live radio, folks, right here from my studio. Sweetheart, you can't crawl into my lap right now as much as I love you.
Yes, I can.
Well, obviously you can. You may not. How about
Yes,
that?
I may.
Oh, I see. Okay. Seriously, though, look me in the eyes. You got to go. See ya. I got to do the show. I got information to pass on. And you and I can commiserate later. And there you go, folks. Here on the Intrepid radio program, the familial interlude. And I hope that is not distasteful for some of you out there. If those of you listening to this show who have not gotten used to how this show works over the last several years, hey, can we keep the yelling to a... I'm trying to do a live radio show. I don't care. Whisper and keep your voices down. Go upstairs. I'm not helping you right now. That's it. I'm done. Go. As we have discussed many times. All right, folks. There it is. There's have to exploit the cuteness demographic. Yeah, there's that. To a certain extent. And I also have to exploit, I think, probably the frustrated parents, my kids don't listen to what I say, demographic as well. Yeah, yell at that kid. Spank her. I wonder how many parents there are out there that watch this and go, when's he going to spank that kid? Oh, believe me, we've been there. Spanking the little one. And by the way, spanking, that's not what this show is about. We'll talk about it some other time, but they say, those in child psychology that seem to not be militantly against spanking your children, that once they've reached a certain age, spanking is ineffectual. And that age is like about 5. So at 5 years old, if you spank your kids, spanking's for a reason. And there's a disciplinary cause behind it. Once you exceed a certain age, it's ineffectual. And so, anyway, yada, 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 on all that. And everybody who's come into the chat room, who I didn't see at the beginning, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Master Finn, high among them, Uncle Dave as well. Michelle Canham-Free. And Sean Stroik. All of you showing up, popping in. Remeldian, welcome to the program. Now, before I really get going, there's something that's in my craw. People want to, when I start talking about things like this, people want to look at it as politics. Oh, no, you're going to talk about politics again. What's the matter with you people? Not everything current events has to be political in nature, even though politics might be driving the actual current event that's going on. My response to it could be political, deemed political, if I was not so I can't say those words. I was going to say GD. If I was not so common sensed about my approach. And so those of you who watch this show or listen to this show and deem me as being full of myself or too cocky about the things that I talk about, you're wrong. Because I'm none of those things. I'm just right about it. My judgment is right about it. There is a point where you say, you know what? I can present both sides of an issue. Excuse me. I can present both sides of an issue. I can also hold to one point of view that leans to one side of an issue. That doesn't mean I'm being political. Even though the topic itself might be political. Dave Potter, Uncle Dave just said, spare the rod and spoil the child. This the age where a deep, dark pit becomes handy. Yeah, isn't that the truth? All right, I'm not spanking you, but to the pit. What was the line from the first Harry Potter movie? The old groundskeeper with the long gray hair, you know. He walks around and he talks like this and he says, "Oh, I miss the days when we could just hang them by their thumbs." So that's the way I feel. Not that I ever lived through those days. I was never that kind of dad. But onto this thing of current events. Surely by now, and don't call me Shirley, you're saying, you have heard about what one side is calling the raid on former President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago, and the other side is calling an FBI investigation. I don't care what you think about this. I don't care what your opinion is about it. I don't give two rats' asses rubbed together what you feel about it. There are facts of the matter that have to be looked at. And the one bottom line question for me as to where your position needs to be on this issue is whether or not you stand as a partisan or a principled person. Partisanship versus principle. Where do you stand on principle? The reason there seems to be so much caterwaul from the right on this is because this is something that has never been done before. You do not, what's the word? Invite, I was going to use, invite a raid, conduct a raid upon the home, the private home of a former president of the United States based on allegations, based on charges. Well, one side might say evidentiary charges. The other side would say fallacious charges, non-evidentiary charges. You don't use those as a basis to break into his home and confiscate his stuff. Fourth Amendment notwithstanding. It's just not done. There was no subpoena, which is the normal way these things are done. Remember yesterday, because nobody was releasing from that side of the equation, was releasing any reasons as to why this was being done or why it had been done. Nobody would say anything about it. Everybody's very tight-lipped about it. So they can throw all this stuff at the former president for the last 7 years. I'm not even going to bother with the cough button tonight, folks. Sorry about that. It just sneaks up on me very quickly. For the past 7 years, they've been throwing this BS at this president, attempting to take him down before he even got started. If you remember, the first of 9 attempts to impeach him, the last 2 successful, although he was not removed from office for either of those, were started within 2 days of his taking office. And it has been relentless ever since. There is something that Trump stood for, whether you agree with it or not, of this evaluation. There's something that he stood for that has caused this much vitriol and hate over the last 7 years, from when he first came down, as they say, the golden escalator at the Trump Tower in New York to make his announcement, to present day. And it has become a comedy of errors, a exercise in ludicrous ridiculousness. The things thrown at this now former president. And what you're seeing in current day by the January 6th Commission, such a hoity-toity name for a witch trial, but the January 6th Commission, if you notice, it's all the same players as the people who have pursued him for the last 7 years. Now you have the raiding of his home, and the initial information that we got was that it was over 15 boxes of suspected classified material that President Trump took with him when he left the Oval Office. And this is frankly what was acknowledged, the only thing acknowledged by the Department of Justice was that it was to obtain classified information. That, and they hailed to the department, can't think of the department name, of the archives, National Archives. And they hailed to that. But the National Archives have come back. I don't know if you've heard much about this in the news. They came back today with a letter stating, well, those 15 boxes that were first mentioned is the reason those were returned a long time ago. So we're not part of this. We're not part of pursuing any classified information. So you've got that going on right now in this country, and you have to, no matter what side of the political partisan equation you may lean to, you have to ask yourself, and this is where I think the rubber meets the road when it comes to living your life by principle, by character and integrity, as opposed to driven by your political partisanship or your ideologies or your party, is that you are able to extract yourself from that mix of political argumentation and look at something and say, is this right or wrong? What's being done in any given one of these situations? Is the information I'm being given lies? Has it not become evident enough over 7 years, the Captain Ahab Moby Dick vendetta that exists out there with some of these people? It doesn't take being partisan to realize that. What it takes is living by principle. And you have to look at some of these things and say, I don't give a good GD about what you think and what you feel. I want to know by what principles do you operate? Is your principle one that supports common sense and supports reality over accusation, or evidence over accusation, facts over feelings? I said to somebody recently, I said, you do realize that everything you're telling me about the former president is based in your feelings of hatred for him. And I said, let's get to the root of the matter. What has caused your feelings of hatred for this man? And when it comes down to you trying to dissect that and get down to that with anybody on the Trump-hating side of the aisle, you're left with no answers from those people. Well, he did this and that. I just saw earlier today or yesterday, something about somebody saying, well, he deserved this FBI raid, him, and now he can go cry on the shoulders of his friend in the Kremlin. And I didn't get into it because I'm not going to get into online arguments about this, but I wanted to say, when I hear somebody say something like that, is like, are you that behind the times? Do you not realize the whole Russian collusion issue was a hoax? They did not take him down on that issue after 2 years and multiple tens of millions of dollars. He was not taken down on that. Why? Because there was no evidence that it existed. And then, incidentally, you have a current president in office who the first thing he did was cut off domestic pipelines, speaking in generalizations here, and open up pipelines for Trump's friend in the Kremlin. Pardon me. Allow me that cough in my post-COVID state. And so you have to look at all this stuff. And you have to say, what was the real reason behind what happened? Why was there a raid, an overtly public, televised, news covered, embarrassment-inducing raid by the FBI? Had Trump been home, would he have been dragged off in shackles like one of the people who was not part of his administration, but actually wrote about and supported Trump through a lot of this? They caught up to him. He turned down a subpoena. He said, no, I'm not going to appear before Congress. And what did they do? They sent a bunch of people to pick him up at the airport. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. That's why I haven't mentioned it. They pick him up at the airport when he's off on a business trip, and they leg shackle him and lead him out of the... Is that necessary? Was he a flight risk to lead a terrorist movement against the United States? Or was he a 76-year-old man who they deemed to lump together, and they wanted to make a public show of it? Roger Stone being in the... I don't care what you think about Roger Stone. To knock on his door in the middle of the night, have him come downstairs in his undies, and find out the FBI is there raiding his home. Did they find anything there that made any difference? Nope. They did not. So this continues to go on and on and on and on. And there are elements in the media that continue to condone it. The media was like, slap happy, bubbly last night over the fact that this happened at the home of Trump. So the big question is, what are we watching happen? If there was anything that Trump still needed to show, all they had to do was issue a subpoena. Somebody today said to me, well, he turned down the subpoena, so they had to go break into his home. It's like, no, there never was a subpoena. Did you know that? All they were going on were charges, not even official charges. There's no charges filed against the man. There are accusations, allegations, which, if you divide it right down the middle, the polarized two parties, one party's going to support and the other one isn't. Why do you think Trump got impeached twice? It's because one party held all the votes in Congress, and the other party was able to convince some to not vote to take him out of office. But they needed those two impeachments on his record. Boy, they needed that to happen. And who was behind everything that has gone on, as I've already mentioned? One-sided, partisan effort. I could maybe start to wonder and reconnoiter a bit and adjust my position on things if I saw that everybody was against Trump. Everybody was part of the allegation. It's not. It was a one-sided, lopsided, partisan party maneuver every time you've seen something like this happen. And what you saw happen yesterday with the president, former president, is a travesty of justice. It is because what happened? They didn't arrest him anywhere. He wasn't even home. He was in New York. They took stuff indiscriminately. I suppose if you're looking for something and you have a warrant to go in, you're going to take everything that looks like it's something that will be germane to your case. So Trump wasn't having his doors bashed in and stuff's taken from his office by the FBI because there were certain allegations and charges against him, legal ones. It wasn't because there was a subpoena. It was because somebody was behind making sure there was a warrant, and a warrant that was signed off on by a judge. And it's Alan Dershowitz. I heard him on the radio this morning. He said, look, I didn't vote for Trump. I voted for Biden. He says, I'm a liberal Democrat. He says, but what happened to Trump last night, he said, is a travesty of justice, and it's unconstitutional. And frankly, folks, do you know what? Everybody's saying, oh, he should be charged, and then they want to make sure that he cannot run again. That's the whole reason for everything that's gone on, from the impeachments to now the January 6th commission. If somebody has tried to convince you that January 6th is all about preserving our democracy and saving our country, you can call bullshit faster than you can say Bob's your uncle to their face. Stand up for what you know is right. Be principled and say, you know what? That's bullshit. Because that's not what any of this is about. This is about preventing him from ever running for office again. And you know what? If he was way down in the polls, if the polls were flip-flopped, let's say Biden had the poll numbers Trump has, and Trump had the numbers Biden has, I don't think you would have seen what happened last night happen. Because it wouldn't matter. So you've got something going on, and you've got to look at this. Yeah, I support Trump. There's my bias. I don't know if I support everything he's ever done, or all the other things on the GOP side or the conservative side. But I, for the most part, support Trump. And the more I see the other side of the partisan divide try to take him down and not succeed, not because he's got slick lawyers, we've seen what buffoons some of them have been, but because there is no substance to the charges. Why would Congress vote to impeach him twice, but not vote to remove him from office? You ever asked yourself that? Why did they keep him in office if he is that bad and a threat to our democracy? Well, because the House was predominantly Democrat, and they voted for impeachment. The Senate has to approve the impeachment. But the Senate also has the power to make sure he isn't removed from office by the trial. So you see, I don't want to relive all that, but you get the idea. You've seen something playing out. If you're an adult, you've seen it playing out for the last 7 years. And this is kind of their final stroke. But you know what I think is going to happen with this? I do believe it's going to backfire. This is what you saw happen with the raid. They are hoping to God, whoever pushed this and made it happen, they are hoping to God that they find something to bolster their charges. Otherwise, their asses will be in the grinder. This was an exploratory mission at Trump's home, not one that was pursuing information that this is what you will find there. So when I say use your common sense, use your head when you're thinking about these things and find out why in hell did this happen. I looked at Politico today, and while I was in the car for 9 hours today, I still had some time to look some things up. And we are going to get to the two demons, but not as deeply tonight because I've already used up a lot of time on this. But I think this is important. I don't care if you came here to hear about the 4 demons beneath the Euphrates. We're still going to talk about that. We may touch on it tonight, but I think this is important. You can't skip historic moments in our nation. And some of you, I realize there's a lot of you that aren't from this country that listen to this show. But you can't skip this stuff and say, let's talk about eschatology tonight instead. Especially when I think it's important to express my thoughts on what's going on here. I saw Rudy Kessler said money. I'm assuming that has to do with some of what you believe are some of the reasons here. And by the way, for 7 years, they haven't been able to put Trump away because there's nothing to it. But you know what they did by signing one bill last week? They got 87,000 new IRS agents that are going to make sure you get audited. Fit that one together. Connect those dots into everything you're seeing going on. So the news of the SBI search at Mar-a-Lago is the most aggressive law enforcement action ever taken against a former American president. And that was last night. And in the most understated way, manageable. And Peter Shorrock of the FloridaPolitics.com just tweeted out this. He said, "Scoop, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, today executed a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. And two sources confirmed, and not even two sources confirmed," he said. That was the scoop. So in an age where bragging about purported here, I want to put it the way they said it, of reporterial prowess is normal, Shorrock was charmingly humble. Not sure what the search warrant was about. TBH, he said, "I'm not a strong enough reporter to hunt this one down, but it's real." And indeed, it was real. Donald Trump confirmed it within the hour. And he said, "My beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents." And then he said in his lengthy statement, he says, "They even broke into my safe." They broke into his safe, which, by the way, they found empty. There was nothing in it. So the backstory, we all know the backstory leading up to this. The discovery of classified material triggered NARA staff to report their findings to the Department of Justice. That's when things got serious for Trump. New York Times Maggie Haberman, and there were two other authors here. They were federal prosecutors, subsequently began a grand jury investigation, according to two people briefed on the matter. Prosecutors issued a subpoena earlier this year to the archives to obtain the boxes of classified documents, according to two people familiar with the matter. Now, as of last night, they didn't know this, but the archival department said, "Oh, we got those boxes that we subpoenaed." He returned them. He said, "Oh, here they are. They're with my stuff." And so the authorities also made interview requests to people who worked in the White House in the final days of Mr. Trump's presidency. In the spring, a small coterie of federal agents visited Mar-a-Lago in search of some documents. According to a person familiar with the meeting, at least one of the agents was involved in counterintelligence, according to the person. Trump suggested that he was continuing to work with the NARA, the National Archive. I don't even know what it stands for exactly. Somebody put that in there for me. And the Department of Justice. He was working with them on the matter and was thus dumbfounded by the swarm of FBI agents that spent hours combing through materials at his home, which is attached to the Mar-a-Lago facility. And after working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, the unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. This was Trump's statement. But that cooperation by Trump gave agents the justification they needed to obtain their warrant. And they said, you know how they got around this without issuing a new subpoena? They got around it by convincing the judge that we think that if we give him a subpoena, he's gonna destroy evidence. Well, they're used to that on their side of the aisle, aren't they? So this went on, and it kept going, and I could go through this thing step by step. One perplexing aspect of the Mar-a-Lago search, at least to some legal analysts, is that the crime reportedly being investigated doesn't even seem to match the unprecedented tactic of an FBI search of a former president's residence. Doesn't match. If they raided his home just to find classified documents that he took from the White House, one legal expert noted, he'll be reelected president in 2024. Hands down. It will prove the greatest law enforcement mistake and bungle in the history of the United States. If they were there just to find stuff on Donald Trump, they're going to go down. It's not going to work. There was a burst of excitement on Democratic legal Twitter. Mark Elias pointed out that one of the penalties for violating the statute on improper handling of government records is being disqualified from holding any office under the United States. The problem is they have the Constitution to contend with. The Constitution already tells you what the qualifications are for becoming president of the United States. And withholding documents that are considered classified is not one of them. Maybe that's the backwards way of looking at it, but there's the truth outright. It's only two qualifications. You got to be 35. You got to be a U.S. citizen. Boom. So, got to go through. You got to look up this stuff, folks. You got to read about this stuff. Who signed the warrant last night? A source said the FBI obtained a search warrant from a federal magistrate judge in West Palm Beach. That's reported by the Miami Herald's Alex Rorty. And the West Palm Beach location of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida has 3 magistrates. There's Bruce Reinhart, William Matthewman, and Ryan McCabe. So one of those guys. So the court's online database shows that 2 recent warrant applications, both assigned to Reinhart, were entered into the system on Monday, though information about the targets of the warrants is sealed. And by the way, the Democrat Party is saying nothing about this. They're as tight-lipped as you could be about anything. You had the president's secretary, Jean-Pierre. What's her name? Jean-Pierre. Saying that we're just not going to talk about that. You have to talk to the Department of Justice. Because they didn't know anything about it. All right. The GOP reaction is what you have already heard some of what I said. Now, I'm not a GOPer. I'm not a Republican, folks, in case you wondered. I'm an independent conservative. So, the immediate political impact of the GOP was to rally at Trump's defense. Here you've got a rally that took place outside of Mar-a-Lago when the guy's not even there. And his supporters came and started a rally. And we'll learn more about that stuff, I'm sure, as we go on. The Senate Republican leadership. I'm sorry, could you not do that while I'm on the radio? Thank you. Goodbye. All right. Sorry, folks. Children who think they're coy and cute. After I've already told them what I expect of them. So the silence hasn't gone unnoticed. There was one leadership exception. National Republican Senatorial Committee Rick Scott. He said the FBI's raid of Mar-a-Lago is, I can't say that for some reason, Mar-a-Lago is incredibly concerning, specifically given the Biden administration's history of going after parents and other political opponents deeming parents as terrorists who stand against school boards. And this is the third world country stuff. We need to answer now. The FBI must explain what they were doing and why. Sorry for my COVID bark. Post-COVID bark. Here, we'll put it that way. I'm no longer contagious, believe it or not. I just sound like it. I just play one on the radio. Most GOP House members commenting about the search thought it was given, took it as given that it was politically motivated. The tone was set from the top and down. Kevin McCarthy, House Minority Leader, said, "I've seen enough. The Department of Justice has reached an intolerable state of weaponized politicization. When Republicans, politicization, there you go. When Republicans take back the House, which is what he's thinking will happen in the midterm elections, when Republicans take back the House, we will conduct immediate oversight of this department, follow the facts, and leave no stone unturned. General, preserve your documents and clear your calendar," is what he said. That's the take. And there's many other people that have commented on this that are in there. Let's see. On Tuesday morning, you've got the state of the race. The Democrats passed Republicans in 538 generic congressional ballot trackers for the first time since November. It's election day. I voted today, by the way. I voted my primary here in the state of Wisconsin. So, not to be a social justice warrior, but I was going to wear my sticker. I voted. Did you? If any of this stuff is upsetting to you, make sure you let your voice be known. One thing that stands out about Tuesday's primaries in 4 states in the Midwest and the Northeast is how many have no contests at all, or only token challengers. So, anyway, that's the politics that's from Politico.com, their compilation. I didn't go through the whole list. So what you need to do, folks, when it comes to stuff like this is, first of all, realize that what happened yesterday is historical. Nothing like this has ever been done to a former president. And they've worked us up to the point to where many people think this is acceptable behavior. I see more people out there, and I see posts. I don't talk to them. I don't engage them. But people cheering and putting up little dance videos and things like this about Trump. And yet, if you were to sit any of those people down, I guarantee, for a one-on-one and ask them what it is they don't like about Trump, they would give you a litany of answers that have absolutely nothing to do with accuracy or evidence or truth. Orange man bad is all many of those people need to know. So connect the dots for yourself. Look at what happened yesterday. This, and I've heard it over and over and over again in the news throughout the night last night and this morning. What happened last night at Trump's Mar-a-Lago is Banana Republic shit. That is what it is. Is this the nation that we have? Is this what we have become? So no matter where you stand on whether you like the man or not, you need to put the dots together. And to me, all of this stuff that we're seeing, this is the evidence of the wokeness of the nation, W-O-K-E, the wokeness. It is also evidence that most people are not awake in their wokeness. If you take the effort to make sure you are awake and you start to look at things like this in a different light, you're going to find it's not going to be, oh, and you'll be a conservative. That's not what I mean by that. You're going to find that the dots connect. So I have not looked at any comments going by in the chat room. We've got a few minutes to do that. I'm sorry I didn't hit the 4 demons tonight. I wanted to get into that tonight. We'll hit it tomorrow night. And because there was something I found that in looking at this that made me really wonder. When I was in the 70s in the youth group, switching gears dramatically to these 4 demons beneath the Euphrates, they say. And they call them angels in the text, by the way, not demons. They're claiming demons are fallen angels. And that is these 4 demons unleashed. I've got a lot in here. And I know I have some Islamic members of my audience. Some of this is very offensive to Islam because it comes out of what I would call radical Christianity that blames everything on Muslims and Islam and so on. I'm not doing that with this. There's something that I found here in exegeting this scripture. We're gonna end on this point tonight for the last few minutes, just to let you know where I was headed and where we're going to go tomorrow night. The 4 demons talked about, this is during the period in the book of Revelation of the 6 seals. And this is the 4 demons being released in Revelation 9, verses 12 through 15. It's really interesting because when you start digging into it, the word for angels in the Greek, or I've said in the Hebrew, when I was talking about the book of Enoch, is malach and malachim for the plural. In the Greek, the word angels in the text in Revelation is angelos, and it means agents or messengers, and it could refer to spirit agents. But there's nothing inherent in this passage of these 4 that says it has to. It could also refer to human agents. They could be human angelos. So in the literal translation, Young's literal translation, it says, saying in the 6th messenger who had the trumpet, loose the 4 messengers who are bound at the great river Euphrates. And so the tense of the Greek word translated bound is perfect passive accusative plural. It's like we used to have all these tenses in the Greek. Greek was such a formal, organized language. And it literally can come out to mean, and we'll explain this tomorrow night, it could very literally mean likely the passage is referring to kings, not to spiritual or celestial beings. And I have some ancient texts that go along with that. So, folks, we didn't get to it except for the last 3 minutes. I promise you we'll dig in deep tomorrow night, find out more about these 4 demons. So in the meantime, my radio audience, stick around for the captain's cabin. And if you're not here for that, I bid you live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Well, welcome back to the captain's cabin. Good to see you all. I'm not going to do a long captain's cabin tonight, mostly because I didn't really even stay on topic tonight at all. Hope that was not disappointing to some of you out there. Hope some of you enjoyed it. Boy, there are times I could dig deep into this stuff and be highly political. And there are other times where I just want to state what I think about it from a common sense point of view. And, why, thank you, Michelle Canham-Free. I sound a little bit better. It's just the naggy cough now. So, as if on cue. Change every seat if they're in, says Uncle Dave. They are out. Get rid of anyone who's served more than 2 terms. And while I'm all for that, I had to face that dilemma here in Wisconsin today. Somebody I voted for, he would be entering his 3rd term. But now, as my wife said to me so eloquently a couple of weeks ago, she said something like, fuck it. She said, I'm voting simply straight Republican across the board. And I said, why are you doing that? And she said, because we need to change the ridiculous idiocy that is there. And there needs to be a changeover in Congress in order for this to happen. Hey, Uncle Dave.
Hey, I just lost my picture.
I see that.
But you're there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm back.
Why have we got an It's Sunday banner up? Was that up through the whole show? Did I click on the wrong one?
That's possible.
It's possible.
You're not in the right place.
So, I don't know. As you know so well, and all of you, my listeners out there, know so well,
You're a staunch Democrat.
Talking about politics. I can do it, but I don't like that being the main thrust of this show. However, I think some of the things, those are things I needed to say today. And I hope it wasn't too far out for some of you. Matt Finn says those scorpion men can be found in idols from ancient Mesopotamia. Yeah, they can. Unfortunately, Dave, some states can't unseat them, says Barbie D.
Oh, they can if they want to.
That's it.
The people just have to get behind and push them out.
Yep.
They serve us. We don't serve them. And it's time they are reminding of that.
Yes.
Very frustrated with our government right now.
You really look like Santa Claus today, said Susie Q.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Ho, ho, ho.
If Santa Claus was heavy rum drinking, scotch drinking, cigar smoking,
he is, isn't he?
He is. If Santa is really Kurt Russell, because I totally dig that Santa.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that worked.
Kurt Russell is Escape from Toyland.
Yes. He played a pretty good Santa. I liked that.
An awesome Santa.
Yeah. He said
one of my favorites.
Yes.
But I've liked Kurt Russell.
I don't like Santa Claus movies. I really don't. I have to.
Oh, Santa versus the Martians? Come on. 1950s classic.
I didn't see that one. Santa
he
versus
takes two little kids up to Mars to destroy the Martians or something. I don't know. It's crazy. Why is Santa Claus always kidnapping children and taking them without their parents' permission?
Yeah. Well, I tamed the cough for the show. I think it's going to degrade.
And don't ever type in Santa porn because it's
Santa porn.
Oh, it's dark. It
Not
goes.
For me, it was for Rocky Stucci.
Yeah, don't go there. That's not. I mean, you can put porn after anything and you'll get something interesting, but that's scary and dark. Don't go there.
Yeah, scary and dark. Ernest Saves Christmas. Thank you, Stylish Birch. I had worked almost a lifetime to forget that movie ever existed. I actually thought the Tim Allen movies, the Santa Claus, I thought that was pretty cute, the first one. And I have no investment in the second one, so.
Yeah. The second was just an attempt to make money because my feeling is nobody sets out to make money on a Santa Claus film, just like nobody sets out to make money on religious films. Okay, so
yeah,
if somebody convinces somebody at the studios to back a religious movie or a Santa Claus movie, they're pulling on the heartstrings and they convince that guy it'll be good for public, relationships and stuff. But we're not going to make any money on it. But it's good for the studio to show a little heart. And then they make a ton of money on something like that.
They're
like, oh, we got to do a sequel. Can you imagine that after Mel Gibson's
Passion of the Christ?
We need a sequel. We should do a sequel because that did really well. I was reading something about a second coming. Could we do that?
Yeah. Well, they are making a sequel to Gladiator.
Yeah.
So Ridley Scott's doing it, which is good.
Well, I know everybody died, but I've got an idea because there were lots of gladiators.
Yeah. There's stuff we can do with this.
Oh my God. Well, and Roman history is really big right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's all over the place, and there's a new History Channel show and on the gladiators, and there's just all kinds of stuff. So
because of my book,
it is because of the Sword and the Clay. It is spiked up in people's minds, and people are like, "Ooh, Romans! Yes. There used to be Romans. We should talk about Romans."
That's right. That's right.
This morning, I watched a show on Hannibal. Not Lecter. Hannibal coming across the
lesser-known Hannibal.
The Alps with his elephants.
The elephant dude. Yeah.
I'm going to attack Rome. I'm going to cross the Alps. And I'm going to bring 42 elephants. It's like, you're going to what?
What, sire?
I get the bit about attacking Rome. And I even get, let's go across the Alps because they won't expect that. But what are the elephants for? It's like...
Yeah. I will tell you this, Matthew Sainsbury. The Jews being offended because Mel Gibson didn't portray the Jews very well in The Passion. I'm sorry, Jews. That's the way it happened. That was pretty much
Yeah.
it. The Jews were kind of the dark fellows in that whole crucifixion story. They were the ones that said,
I have many Jewish friends, and
we
I
need him
don't
out
know
of the
any
way.
of them that deny that.
They said, this Jesus dude needs to be gone. He needs to be gone. And they had to get the writ of execution from the Roman government. And they're the ones that were pushing it. And even though the Romans crucified him, it was the Jews. Now, let me make this plain. It wasn't the Jews. It was the Jewish ruling council in first century Jerusalem that pushed the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And got it.
And they were only able to do so because they were able to push the fact with the Roman government that he's a descendant of David. So
Yeah.
he has a legitimate claim to the throne. And that's why he was crucified by the Romans, because they didn't want him as a legitimate threat to their power, having so much voice, and he had a lot of voice.
Yeah. And I saw it as they had Pilate, I think, in a pretty politically rock and a hard spot.
Yeah.
And Pilate sought to release him, and sought diligently. And his wife, according to we don't know if this is legend put into the Gospels, but his wife in the Gospels, one of the Gospels, came and said, "Don't have anything to do with this guy. Let it
It's going to be your downfall. You don't want to do that."
Yeah. And so it said he sought diligently to release him. And then you have the Jewish council, the Sanhedrin. They came to him and they said to Pilate, well, if you don't give us this writ of execution, we'll just tell Caesar that you honor a king of the lineage of David, another king other than Caesar. And that put him, because Pilate was already under stricture from Caesar to placate the Jews, while you had Caesar's not his second in command, they thought his heir apparent, L. Aelius Sejanus, would have been the man that would have appointed Pilate, and he was very anti-Semitic. Well, and Sejanus they uncovered him in a plot to overtake the throne by force. So he and all his family members, all his political allies, are all killed, executed by Caesar. And it was speculated that here's Pilate out in Dust Bowl, Judea, armpit of the empire, being told, your friend Sejanus is dead. You should mind your P's and Q's over there. Oh, and by the way, placate the Jews. There's the new policy for Judea. So where's Pilate in all of this? He's between a rock and a hard place.
He's washing his hands, man.
What's that?
He's over at the basin washing his hands. I see him doing it right now.
Yeah, he's washing his hands. He's like, dude, I'm out. It's like Eddie Murphy in what movie was that? Was it Haunted Mansion? Get out. No, it was one of his comedy bits. He says, man, if I go to a haunted house and I hear somebody go, get out. He goes, I'm like, hey, nice house. Good to see you. Goodbye. So I think that's what Pilate did. It was either he would have had to have been the most altruistic man in history to be able to release Jesus and thumb his nose at the Sanhedrin, or he was one of is this little country itinerary preacher nobody? Is he worth my life and my career?
Well, and also look at it from this angle. So even if he had said, yeah, I'm not going to do this, then the Pharisees would have gone to Rome or sent a message to Rome and said, hey, your guy Pilate won't execute this guy. He's the descendant of David. He's rising up the locals. He's going to overthrow the government.
Yep.
And then they'd have come down and Pilate would have been gone. Hey, we're taking you back home. Hey, we got a surprise for you.
A surprise back home. You got your old villa back.
Well, at least you'll be in the tomb around the old
Yes,
pillar.
yes. So yeah, that
And the
was,
new guy would have come in and off with his head.
yeah. Yep.
So
You're not obeying your Caesar. So yeah,
and then look, if you really want to dig deep into this, it's what God wanted. It was all part of the master plan. So it was going to happen no matter who put him in charge.
Plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that part.
And I'm sure there's a part where Jesus is going, whoa, Dad, is there a plan B? is there another option here?
Remember when he prayed in the garden, what we have recorded for us in the scripture anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know who was sitting listening going,
I'm going to write this down. This is good stuff.
But he said, he prayed and he said, Father, he said, if it's your will, let this cup pass from me. I don't want this. He says, nevertheless, not my will, but yours. Be done. That's what's recorded that he said when he was praying. And they did say he was praying and then he was sweating, it said, as it were, great drops of blood. And they found that to be, that is a medical condition that is brought on. You know how much of our bodies can be affected by our nerves, our anxieties, and all this other stuff. Yeah. That is a condition that can result primarily from the blood vessels around the eyes and in the forehead. They will break under intense stress, strain, anguish, things like that. And they break and the blood vessels will go into the tear ducts. And you will see tears and you'll see sweat that will, the blood vessels have broken into it. So
it's just a normal Wednesday night for me, but yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Sounds like a Wednesday. And so they're saying that's some of what could explain what happened. Why was that mentioned kind of thing? Lucky Smith says, people, release Barabbas. Pilate, wait, what? He's a murderer and an insurrectionist. And what did it say the people said?
Well,
they said,
Barabbas is translated as son of the sun.
Yeah, son of a son.
And so that makes you wonder, was he one of his sons?
Possibly. And it said that that the people said, but Pilate said, you want him, but I don't see any fault. What about Jesus? And they said, crucify him. He says, but I found no fault in him. And they said, let his blood be on us and our descendants. Now, I think
that's Roman propaganda. That's
Roman propaganda. I think
that's what Pilate wrote in his letter back to Rome. I tried to release this guy, and they didn't want it.
Let his blood be on us. It's all us. And
that's put in there for the Roman Church. I don't buy that. To me, those lines are written by the Roman Church 200 years later when they're laying it all down, going, we're going to absolve ourselves of this.
Yeah, I think that's exactly true. That's where I think things were added. One thing
keep in mind, in my opinion, the Roman Catholic Church really is what's left of the Roman Empire. When you look at its footprint through the Middle Ages, it's the footprint of the Roman Empire. Okay. And they're still maintaining the empire. It's now in control of the church with the Pope instead of a Caesar. And a council of cardinals instead of the Senate. But it's basically
Latin.
And all still in Latin, all still there. It's still the Romans. They're still the senators are still wearing red. They used to wear white robes with red stalls. Now they wear red stalls with white, or red robes with white stalls.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the same thing. And so when they're writing that stuff up, they're like, oh, put in a part that absolves Rome. Because we look bad. Blame it on the Jews. Blame it on the Jews.
It doesn't change the salvific nature of the gospel, but it does change the emphasis that Rome wanted to have on it.
Yeah.
And
because they now want everyone to come to Rome for their Christianity.
Yes.
So you can't have Rome being the bad guy in crucifying Christ.
Yep. This is why I've spoken of this before, so I'll just touch on it lightly. Why I have talked about the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, the Sunday before the crucifixion. And Jesus rides in on the foal of a donkey, and the people are waving the palm fronds and yelling Hosanna to the King, throwing the palm fronds down on the road in front of him as he walks. And yet those are the people who rejected him a few days later.
Yeah.
At Pilate's balcony. And I used to ask the question, why did this happen? What is this actually going on here? And we celebrated in our churches Palm Sunday.
But see, I think what's going on there is he rides in, and he is the descendant of David, and they're seeing him as a political hero who's going to come in and send the Romans home.
Well, there's another factor to that too.
And then when he does his Sermon on the Mount and everything, and they're like, well, you're not going to raise arms against the Romans. You're not going to do all this stuff.
Well,
you're not the guy we're looking for.
The Palm Frond on Palm Sunday. The Palm Frond was a symbol of the Maccabean family and the Maccabean revolt.
Yeah.
It would be like waving the American flag.
Yeah.
And when he's riding in on the foal of a donkey, like the prophecies said of the Messiah. And what was it that Jesus said? He said to the disciples, go find me a donkey because I'm going to ride into the town on this. Was that a fulfillment of prophecy, or was it him saying, this is what the prophecy says and I need to do it this way? So he rides in. And the people are waving the palm fronds, yelling Hosanna to the King, because what did they see in him? 100 or so years earlier, they had Judas Maccabeus and the Maccabean revolt that stood against the Greeks. And Rome. They allied with Rome to help drive the Greeks. And they went to the temple and held the temple for days and won this revolt. And so the people were waving the symbol of the Maccabean family to say, rise up and lead an army, and you'll be our king against the Roman army. And they saw him as, this is the guy that's going to do it. He's the next Judas Maccabeus.
Yep.
And, of course, what happened? Over the course of the next few days, Jesus cleared the temple of the money changers, kicked over tables. People are like, yeah, that's my badass king right there. And yet, what's Jesus' response? He says, you've turned my father's house into a den of thieves, he said. And he preached about the kingdom of God is in your heart. Like, I'm preaching to the heart of man. And when they finally realized this guy isn't a military king, he's not coming to do that.
Yeah.
They're like, next. And that's why it was so easy for those same crowds to turn on him just a few days later, 5 days later. So, I think that's to me, that's interesting history. When you can see, the first I ever heard of that, it had to be about 30 years ago. I heard about the Palm Frond and the tie to the Maccabean family. And I thought, oh, that makes a hell of a lot of sense now. And because that was always one of those mysterious things to me. Well, I've got the king, excuse me, the Messiah, God, very God. I'm going to wave these palm fronds and throw them on the ground for him. I'm like, okay. And then why did they turn on him a few days later? Never could put those two things together. It made sense once you understand the history. So, and that's all I got on that. I could make it drag on for an hour, but I won't.
Sure.
It's a great lesson. I taught that as a lesson in church once. So, that was in the Know What You Believe section.
And believe what you know.
Believe what you know. And why do you believe what you believe? Even when I was in the church. So,
I don't believe in our government anymore. I'll tell you that.
Oh, dude. Yep, you'll reignite my fire on that tonight. So, folks,
Everybody should be ignited on that.
They should be.
We'll see the trampling of the Constitution in a major way today.
Are not, and people will say, well, how is what this FBI raid a trampling of the Constitution? It's really easy. When you look at the constitutional protections that are afforded any citizen of the United States for unlawful searches and seizures, you look at the qualifications for being a president.
You look at the separations of powers. You look at, there's a whole bunch of things.
Separation of powers. And you start to look at that event from a totally different light that took place yesterday evening.
People need to stop dividing the Constitution up into individual segments and read the whole damn document again.
That's right.
It all supports itself.
Don't believe everything you see, said Michelle Cannon-Free. Bingo.
Well, and this is what the government keeps telling us. Don't believe what you're seeing with your own eyes. You believe what we tell you. We'll tell you what to think and what to believe.
Yes. Well, that's it. So, what do you got up there, Rudy? What is that? Is that a tomato?
It's a comet.
Oh, a comet. It's flying upward. That's why I wondered.
No, it's flying downward. I zoomed in on it.
I don't see it going down. It's pointing up, Dave.
No, it's not. The ball is at the bottom, and the tail is at the top. No,
the big orange ball is at the top, and the
what
tail
big
is
orange
pointing
ball? I
to
see
the
a little
lower
blue
right.
comet.
I see a little blue comet. I don't see any big orange. Anything.
I see a red, like three-dimensional ball with a orange tail going down to the lower right.
How can we be seeing two different things?
We're seeing two different comets.
How in the... What kind of YouTube magic are you doing?
Anyway. Okay, it's a comet, says Rudy. I thought it looked like a tomato. Here, take this. Revolution, that's what's missing, says Stylish Birch.
Well, we're just 2 steps away from a civil war if they keep this crap up.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
It's just going to take some nutcase to start pulling the trigger, and then it's just all going to break out. This is like Fort Sumter. This is just someone's just waiting for a shot.
Yeah, many little evil. Here's what David Otness just says. I'm dialed in. Many little evils have crept in under the tent. So now the larger ones, like yesterday, are being trotted out in public. Nothing to see here, folks. Just keep moving.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're being told.
Yep. I've been ignoring the government for quite some time because they've been lying to us for so damn long that.
Yeah. They have. And I agree. All right. You know what? It's 10:25 and there's so much I would love to just continue to talk about as if on cue, but I can't.
I'm surprised that Rainey and Flynn haven't called in to,
She was actually here last night. I saw on the replay that comes up with the show on my Facebook. Once you've watched it and you see some of the comments. And she was here saying hi. Fuck. She was here saying hi. And I think it was either really early on in the show or really late in the show. And
I missed that.
Much later. And so my beautiful wife, if you're out there, I miss you. I hope you're having fun. I know you're having fun.
I'm watching the pictures every day she posts. Yeah.
Flynn is having a good time.
Oh, he looks so happy.
He does. It's so nice to see him enjoying that. So
well, and I knew he and Carrie, because he hasn't really hung with Carrie, has he?
No, we haven't really. He doesn't even know Carrie practically.
I was going to say, because he was so little when Carrie left.
Yep.
and I just knew he and Carrie would hit it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
so when Rainey said she was taking Flynn, I was like, that's perfect. And I said, that was one of my first questions. Carrie's not on active duty right now, is he? He's going to be home. Because
well, they've made
two of them together.
They have some health issues with one of their children. And so they've made it a permanent thing for him. He doesn't have to go on deployment anymore.
Oh.
So, because of the health of his child. And so that's a good thing. It's not a terminal thing. Don't worry about that. It's a aggravating health issue. And so, and Kate said, I need him at home. And so he is now stationed at home. So
Well, good for
Matthew
him.
says, hi, was calling in, but maybe I'll get through tomorrow. Nice discussion, Dave Potter with Scotty on Yeshua, our Jesus. There you go. And Jesus, whose real name is Joshua. So in case none of you knew that, Jesus, the Latinized or Greek version of Joshua. So you wonder if his friends called him Josh back in his carpenter days.
Well, it's possible.
Josh, let's get together for some beers. You know what I think Jesus would have said to that? You're on. You're buying. So,
and they show up with a 12-pack of water. Do it again, man. Do it again.
Do the thing again.
Make this one a stout.
Oh, man. So, folks, Jesus has a sense of humor.
Yes, he does.
So,
damn it. And I'm sure he had a lot of fun as a kid. I am sure if he had those abilities as a kid, I'm sure he did a lot of fun stuff.
Well, according to legend, he turned clay birds into real birds. Of course, none of that's in scripture. That's just legend. I think that was another one of those early church fathers. Oh, let's make Jesus. Yeah, he kind of turned birds into, or clay into birds. He did that kind of thing. He did that thing, and so became tradition. Sean, you're thinking of the anthem called "We're Not Going to Take It."
We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it.
And 'cause we ain't gonna take it. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I just don't know the words other than those. So.
Yep.
Well, folks, I'm reluctant to leave. I don't really want to. I want to stick around.
I got to get back to sewing.
My voice is pretty much. Well, you see, then it's good. I get out of the coughing jag, and it's good for a while. I was driving the car today. Like I said, when I got into that coughing jag, it wasn't like, it was just a constant, like you've been hearing me cough now, just no stop, almost no time to breathe. And I thought, I'm going to have to pull over. There was one point where I literally thought I'm going to get sick from coughing. And I felt sick to my stomach from coughing.
I've been there.
And I thought, I got to pull over. And I didn't. I just took a deep breath. I took a sip of what I was drinking, and I was fine. When you crack open a beer on the freeway, it goes down pretty slow. It's pretty cold. So, hand me one of those beers.
Scotty.
And I don't drink this swill. This was a client project. So,
old mud what?
Old mugwump. Old Milwaukee beer.
Oh.
You know of old Milwaukee beer. It's right up there with like Ham's beer and
Hams.
Pabst, the Ham's, the beer refreshing. Remember that? The Indian theme and the bear, the cartoon bear from the 60s. That was pretty cool.
From the land of sky blue waters. Yeah.
Yep. Ham's, the beer refreshing. They went to the bum, 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 and it had the bum, 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 bum. So,
yeah.
I remember the day I was in 5th grade, which would have been 1969, 1970, that school year. And our teacher, they had a fun thing they were doing after school. And they said, anybody wants to stay and watch this? There was a handful of dozen kids. And he and one of the other teachers were watching films, 16 millimeter films. And they had all the old Ham's beer ads with the bear and stuff. And we
Hey,
were all
we're gonna
having a
watch
great
old beer
time.
commercials, kids. Come on, stay a
Yeah.
while.
And he was showing up for the art style and thought it was good. But they were, good old boys too, these
Yeah.
teachers. And he's the one who, if you remember the year COVID came out, it was 2020. The old teacher of mine who turned 82, and he was having a birthday party, and I went and I got a picture of me with him. He was probably the most influential man on my early life. Was a guy named Joseph Sacco, and I believe he's still alive. It'd be nice to know he's still alive, but he's my dad's age. He'd be 84 this year, but he had this big party, and Joseph Sacco was tuned in to the fact I was a kid with no dad, single mom, and he had a couple of kids like that the school district made sure that he got moved up the next grade from 5th grade to 6th grade teacher so they could have him as well. And but he remained friends over the years. I talked to him maybe once every 10 years, kind of thing. We'd
Yeah, I
connect.
was pretty close with my 6th grade teacher, and then when I was in college and I did student teaching, I came back and did student teaching in his classroom, which was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Joe Sacco was so I got to see him. I walked in. I was wearing it was winter.
The same outfit.
Same outfit I had on in 5th grade. And I walked in looking pretty much like I do now.
Sounding just like you do today. With
Sounding
your
just like I
voice
do today.
cracking and your
And I had a big pea coat, my navy pea coat. And I went walking into the room. It was pretty crowded. There were a lot of people there. And he walked up toward me and he goes, "Scotty Roberts." It's like he recognized me. I mean, when I say we kept in contact a few times,
well,
it was only
you
by
do your
phone.
beard the same way you did in the 6th grade. You haven't
I wore
changed
just
that.
like this in 6th grade. It was just a little darker. But he knew who I was. And
I can see that though, dude. When I look at pictures of you as a little kid, your face is still there.
It is.
I was talking at the family reunion. We were looking at pictures. Some of these are almost 100 years old now, and there were questions about one of the girls in the crowd, and I'm like, well, that's my grandmother Hazel. I can recognize her anywhere, and she couldn't have been more than 12 or 13 at the time of that picture. But there's facial features that just don't change. And I can always pick her face out in the crowd and my mom's face.
Yeah. And so Grant, I think he's seen stuff. He's seen my books over the years and stuff like that. And probably seen a picture of me, but
he probably takes credit for all that. Yeah, that's all because of me.
And and he was an artist too.
Well, there you
on
go.
the side. 5th grade, just general teacher, 5th grade. But he was an artist, a painter, and he used to grab me. I said, "Yeah, I draw more. I don't have any art paper at home and stuff." And he goes, "Here." And he went and grabbed a ream of, it must have been printer paper. We didn't have printers like we do now. But he grabbed a ream of paper and cracked it open, gave me half the ream of paper. He goes, "Take that with you." And it gave me drawing paper for weeks.
Yeah.
And he'd do that for me all the time, which was very cool.
John McCoy was my high school art teacher, and he was the most laid back, coolest guy. And I really like the fact the way our school was laid out. You had this one hallway, and it was band and orchestra and choir, and then all the art rooms, and they all wrapped around the theater. And so all of my key classes were down that hallway and such. And John McCoy, he's the guy that kept telling me, no, just put some white there. White? There's no white in this. It's a blue thing, blah, blah. And he was like, nope, just he'd take my brush and he'd put a streak of white in it. And he said, now step back and look at that.
Now look at that. Now look at what you got.
Now it looks three-dimensional. How'd you do that?
Yeah.
and really just he's like, you've got it. You understand what you're seeing, but you need to just put straight white. Just put a reflection on that.
Yeah. Make it stand out. Make it snap a little bit.
And it just my brain at 15 did not want to wrap around that all I needed to do was a streak of bright white paint in the middle of this thing to make it pop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I look at all my stuff and I'm like, oh, it needs some white. I just got to grab the white.
I need a little white in there. I do some of that for, different reasons. I guess that I picked that up. But yeah, Joe Sacco, he never taught me art. He just facilitated it.
Yep.
So, which was very cool. All right. Once again, it is now 10:37 Central Standard Time.
I have 10:38. I think you're slow.
Oh, there you go. I might be slow.
I've always kind of thought you were slow.
10:37. Yeah, I know you think that. I like to let you think that. And so we got to get out of here.
All right.
Get out of here. Folks, thanks for being here.
Go
Uncle
give those
Dave.
girls a hug for me.
I will. Hey, girls! Girls!
I said hello earlier, but they were
Come here.
vacating.
Oh, that came out nice and clean.
Maybe you need to
So that
shout
means
more.
my
Have you not been
diaphragm-
shouting while I was gone?
No, me.
Yeah.
surprised it came
Maybe you
out
should
clean.
shout more and get your voice cleared up.
Come and say goodnight to everybody. And Uncle Dave. Oh, the dog's dumb.
Hey, sweetie.
Say goodnight, Ron.
Good night.
Wow. Good
You mad
night.
about something?
No, I was in
What's
the
all over
middle.
your arm? Super Show.
I was in the middle of my Roblox game, and you made me stop.
Oh, I was gaming.
Oh, you were gaming.
You know what?
Oh.
Naked Bird. What are you naked for?
I was trying to sleep.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, here. You can step over here. You won't see any naked naughty bits. Come here. There you
Too far up.
go.
Hi, Ellie Belly.
Say goodnight to Uncle Dave and everybody. All the nice people.
Night.
Say goodnight, nice people.
Okay, get your
bye.
naked buddy back in bed. Love you.
Scram. Bye.
Love you both.
I'll see you upstairs. All right. So, Robert Shuey made his little girl come on air naked.
Yeah, we saw her face.
Yeah, that's right. And a little bit of shoulder. So, all right, guys. See you, Uncle Dave. I'm going
All
to
right.
remove you.
Love
from
you, bro.
office. Boom. And, all right, folks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for everything you do. I appreciate the fact that you're here. And we'll be back tomorrow night. And so let's get out of here. Live long and prosper.